would expect him to feel a little defeated, a little gaunt, anything like that. But it wasn't that case. He appeared confident. He stood tall. But most importantly and most notably, when he walked inside the courtroom, the first thing that he looked at was his family.
In terms of presenting the electronic evidence or getting their witnesses lined up, it may be part and parcel of the defense's strategy to push this case to trial as quickly as possible.
Meanwhile, there are other reports that Diddy has stopped eating. This could be because he isn't enjoying the food, but it also could be because he's paranoid that someone is out to get him and may slip poison into his food.
It seems that most of the circumstances surrounding Diddy's case are still unknown. The fact that even the police are hiding crucial details of the case encourages more ideas. It has gotten to the point where there is a Facebook rumor circulating that the show was canceled because of the Kardashians' relationship with Diddy. The story gained so much traction that USA Today had to correct it with a fact-checking article. Because of the severity of these allegations, Diddy's legal team issued a statement saying, Mr. Combs categorically and emphatically denies as false and defamatory any claim that he sexually abused anyone, including minors. He is ready to prove his innocence and stand up for himself in court, where the truth will be decided by the evidence, not opinion. What are your thoughts on Diddy and the Kardashians' relationship? Exists anything more that hasn't been found yet? As there is still a lot to learn about this topic, please feel free to leave your comments below and come back often.
Yeah, Jesse, it was pretty interesting because I think, we have seen many photos, videos of Sean Combs, aka Diddy, through the Associated Press, Instagram. And so to see him kind of in person after being in jail for 3 weeks now was pretty interesting, to say the least. And I say that by being that you would expect him to feel a little defeated, a little gaunt, anything like that. But it wasn't that case. He appeared confident. He stood tall. But most importantly and most notably, when he walked inside the courtroom, the first thing that he looked at was his family. As soon as he saw his family, he just lit up. Another note too is he wasn't shackled, but he was wearing a khaki prison-like jumpsuit when he appeared inside court, and his family appeared on their end very just happy to see him. Now, I will say, when I was inside the courtroom, I was a little bit towards the back right side of the gallery, and so for seeing Sean Combs, I had to look through a few heads and stuff like that. But again, he appeared just kind of confident walking inside that courtroom, and it might have just been the look that his family.
Naturally, this does not mean that the federal government stops operating. But why do people feel that Diddy is essentially threatening to sue them? What disturbing messages are making the rounds? First of all, he was very confident and exhibited no signs of regret during his hearing. It goes without saying that his family was behind him, providing the image that he was a fully realized family man.
You had Janice Combs, who sat by Justin, and it was followed by Chance, the twins, Jesse and Delilah, Quincy, and then Christian Combs, aka King. So again, once they all saw their father, they all smiled at him, waved at him, and even when we were all leaving the courthouse today, Diddy just blew kisses at his mother and his family members. They didn't say much of anything. I wasn't outside when they had first entered the courthouse, so I'm not sure if they said anything to the press. Previously, they had been very quiet whenever they had entered the courtroom, so I assume it'll be kind of like that as well.
It seems that judges are set on keeping him behind bars at the Metropolitan Detention Center, no matter what, despite his numerous requests for bail. Though the most recent hearing also revealed that the government was still working to recover a significant amount of data from the devices that were discovered during the searches, there's still a lot to sort through.
So while a lot of us were kind of expecting there to be arguments about bail or the bond, that really didn't happen. And the judge ordered that the defendant, Sean Combs, stay inside the MDNC, which we know the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. And so as far as what we know now is that we know May 5th is going to be the date, tentatively, that the trial does begin. So we have a lot of stuff that we're expecting to see. So the data mainly still be extracted. Now, the government was kind of talking about just some of the devices are a little bit older, so the government in turn is kind of, catching up to the technology there. But they say at the airport they seized 9 different devices. 7 of those have been extracted so far. At Miami, 36 different devices were seized. 29 were extracted. And in LA, 51 devices were seized. 24 have been extracted. They say that terabytes of data, that information could come about next 2 weeks or so, and they're working on the production, another production of the subpoena returns. And so the defense pretty much didn't object to too much inside the courtroom today. Agnifilo also appeared kind of confident during his arguments. I know a lot of people were kind of expecting for the bail or bond argument to be happening, but that didn't happen, and it appeared that the defense kind of, I'm trying to find the right word here, but they were pretty much complying with all the prosecution's arguments and plan to kind of have everything all good and set to go by May. Now, by the time the end of the year is to happen, I forgot one big turn right here. They did mention that a potential superseding indictment could.
A former federal prosecutor said that the case was unlikely to go to trial in May 2025, given the volume of evidence that needed to be reviewed and the current procedures in place. And perhaps that's what the defense holds on to.
I'm joined once again by our general counsel here at Long Time, Elizabeth Vulai, but also I am joined by criminal defense attorney Nima Rahmani. Good to see you. Thanks so much. Happy to have you both here. Nima, I'll start with you. I mean, the idea of a May 2025 trial date, and we talked about it before on the show that Sean Combs, if he thinks he's going to be locked up, obviously wants to go to trial as soon as possible. I get it. He's kind of putting the prosecution's feet to the fire. But you heard Elizabeth. Terabytes of data, all this to go through, a production schedule. This really going to happen in May, this trial?
Probably not, but Diddy's lawyers may want to jam up the government if they think there's any chance they're not ready in terms of presenting the electronic evidence or getting their witnesses lined up. It may be part and parcel of the defense's strategy to push this case to trial as quickly as possible. Obviously, we know Combs is in custody, so there's really no point for him to wait. We know that the defense case is going to be limited. When Judge Subramanian asked for a time estimate today, the prosecution gave 3 weeks. The defense only gave 1 week, which means that they're going to base this case mostly on cross-examination.
Naturally, this does not imply that the government is uninformed in its domain. Many experts have talked about how the federal government will be able to prosecute Diddy for multiple crimes at once with the use of the RICO charges.
The government is going to be kind of rushing a little bit. I understand that they're still getting subpoenas are being responded to still. So they don't even have all their evidence together yet. And so demanding a speedy trial really is going to force the government to get their act together really fast and not have that additional time. But I think that the government was also smart in not overcomplicating this case by making it much bigger than it needed to be. Like, for instance, what happened down in, y'all's neck of the woods in Atlanta with the YSL RICO trial that's going on. So, you've got a much simpler, indictment, 14 pages long, really one identifiable victim, but I think that there's probably others that are contained with it. So we'll see if that May date sticks. If there's superseding indictments, it's probably going to get continued, I would think, because there's just, that would automatically cause that to happen.
There has even been talk about the government bringing more defendants into the case, which would give Diddy less control over the proceedings because he would no longer be the only defendant. This suggests that a great deal more people will consider their own interests.
Superseding indictments, I don't know if they'll necessarily be new charges against P. Diddy, maybe, or maybe more identifiable victims. But I think that you're also going to maybe potentially see some co-conspirators that are identified that played a significant role in this vast conspiracy that's taken place over the course of the last 30 years. So with other defendants involved, that can also Sean Combs will be in less control over when this trial goes and how it plays out.
Well, let's talk, though, about the fact the feds don't play. I mean, generally, they don't bring a case until they have their ducks in a row and the evidence ready to go. And so I have to believe that, yes, some of those things might cause delays, and it's a great defense team. But I also think the feds are well paired with evidence on hand to proceed against him.
Oh, yeah. They took their time on this.
Furthermore, despite Diddy's legal team's best efforts to depict any wild parties as consensual, if the 120 new accusations referenced by attorney Tony Busby turn out to be real, this whole thing might become quite troublesome because minors are not capable of giving consent.
What they probably want to do is push this case as quickly as possible because under the Speedy Trial Act, unless they waive time or time is excluded, the government technically has to get this to trial within 70 days.
So let me just follow up on that. If he's hit with a superseding indictment, right, and we don't know what those charges could be, we don't know if there could be multiple defendants, we don't know if they're respect to potentially minors. No, am I crazy to think that there's no way this trial is then going to happen in May?
It's unlikely, especially if there's a superseding indictment involving minors, because minors present a completely different set of circumstances. Because we know through his lawyers, Combs is arguing that sexual activity happened, but it was consensual. Of course, sex trafficking, you need one of those three elements: force, fraud, or coercion. Obviously, minors cannot consent to any sexual activity, so that would be a very different defense entirely. The defense would have to be that the activity didn't happen at all and the individuals are lying. So I think that's going to be a potential game changer if we do get the minors wrapped up into a superseding indictment. And we know, at least I believe the civil attorneys, there are 25 minor victims, one of which is as young as 9.
And those suits haven't been filed yet, but that's what Tony Busby, this Texas attorney, has indicated that we should expect to see.
Moreover, some believe Diddy had a direct hand in leaking a jail movie that allegedly featured an A-list star and is currently screening in Hollywood. There are many who suspect that the rapper might have been threatening to harm people's reputations if they didn't keep silent.
We've got an attorney with us now. We have Ariel. She's joining us now. So who do you think that this star is, that we've got this unidentified male? And how could this be impacting the case?
I know who it is, which I'm not going to say out of respect. But how is it going to impact the case? I think the impact would be more so if that person was revealed. It would be, I think, shocking to everyone. Kind of shocking, but not shocking at the same time. And I think it would just goes to show about the pattern of Mr. Combs' behavior against other people, like Mrs. Ventura and like the person that was in the video.
In the end, the federal authorities say they have evidence of Diddy reaching out to witnesses in an effort to coerce or threaten them. Diddy's repeated bail denials are mostly due to this.
It's more so about him being a flight risk than tampering. We have seen some evidence where he, specifically with one of the members of Dirty Money, as we all know, Don Richard had filed a lawsuit against Diddy. And then the other member of that Dirty Money group came out and essentially undermined her claim and said, oh, well, I didn't see anything. I don't know anything about this. And then we later found out that Diddy called her 54 times in a row. Oh. So I think that those situations lend to maybe some issues with tampering. And I do feel like there are victims who are scared to come forward, including my client. He was very nervous about if he was going to get bail this week. And once I told her, and then come after people, including her and some of the other individuals, and she was very relieved when he did not receive bail. So I think the issue is a combination of things, not only tampering, but more so of a flight risk.
According to Diddy's lawyer, Ariel Mitchell, the federal government does not want him to be free, given the manner they are currently handling him. No matter how much he offers, even a $50 million mansion, he has to remain in jail.
In a lot of situations, you know, again, in America, we have innocent until proven guilty, but then there's a certain amount of guilty and a certain amount of innocent. So I think we're leaning more towards the guilty side just because of what we've seen in the past with Mr. Combs, what we've seen in terms of the sheer amount of plaintiffs in civil court who have filed cases against him, as well as, like I said before, him being a flight risk and having the means, wherewithal to actually take flight and leave the country so he doesn't have to face his crimes in criminal court. So I think taking the totality of the circumstances, the court is being careful to make sure they don't do something that allows Mr. Combs to avoid justice.
It's crucial to keep in mind that Diddy's son might also need to speak up shortly. Christian King Combs, who has previously been charged with sexual assault, was the reason behind the leak of the Cassie video. Even Gene Deal, Diddy's former security guard, has made similar suggestions. Deal said King was inexperienced in his line of work.
He's teasing the federal government. And I told y'all, the Southern District of New York do not play. So King Kong just put another battery in their back. And you see after he did that shit, something get leaked to the press. Do you notice that, right? Soon as he did that dumb shit, talking about, well, we did this and we did that. We had this over here. Y'all went to the wrong house. Some went to, well, we're going to show you how wrong we are. Yo, CNN, run this. Action, roll them. Don't play with the feds, bro. Because you got to realize this. They got a lot of time. All they got is time.
Deal added that the feds are determined to take as long as necessary to finish the case, and they will most likely prevail in the end, in contrast to the public's desire for a swift trial.
They're gonna sit there, people sitting up there, and they want something. See, people like a fix. They need that fix real quick. They want them to hurry up and charge Diddy with something, or see what they got on him. The feds gonna take their time. May take 6 months, may take a year, may take 2 years. They got up to 3 years to bring their case up. They got 3 years. So they checking everything about them. They're gonna dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
In the interim, it's possible that additional well-known victims of Diddy will come forward. Diddy allegedly did not spare the distinguished Janet Jackson either, according to Jaguar Wright.
Meanwhile, when she married that billionaire, all of that was going on when Diddy was harassing her.
Oh.
Because he's been harassing her for years. Yeah.
Janet? Damn.
And they won't talk about it.
I can see him.
So when I hear Orlando bringing up the Janet Jackson thing and saying it in his little code word, I know what that means. I know what he's saying. But the truth is Janet is under heavy scrutiny. She did what she had to do to survive. She's strong. It's just that Jackson family stigma.
In the interim, Gloria Allred and other lawyers who are defending Diddy's accusers are continuing to battle for justice.
All about power and abuse of power.
Prominent attorney Gloria Allred, who has represented accusers of Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and R. Kelly, speaking exclusively with Eyewitness News. She now represents an undisclosed number of Sean Diddy's alleged victims, including Talia Graves.
The trauma of the assault has taken a toll on my mental health.
Consent is a big issue, and it is the government's burden in a criminal case to prove any charge and all charges beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a very high burden to prove.
Combs is now asking a federal judge for a trial date next April or May. And we could see ex-girlfriend Cassandra Cassie Ventura take the witness stand. This despite an undisclosed settlement reached one day after Ventura filed a lawsuit against Combs last November, accusing him of rape and abuse.
Even if there are confidential civil settlements, there's always an exception in the law. They can still testify in a court of law if they are subpoenaed to do so.
Gloria Allred, the well-known attorney who has represented victims of Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, and Harvey Weinstein, exclusively spoke with Eyewitness News. She currently represents an undisclosed number of Talia Graves' purported victims of Sean Diddy Combs by speaking out. Combs is seeking a federal judge trial for April or May of next year, despite an undisclosed settlement reached the day after Ventura filed a lawsuit against Combs last November, accusing him of rape and abuse. Ventura is able to provide testimony. Diddy will reportedly fight from jail for the time being because he reportedly fears getting poisoned. Will his actions get more desperate the longer he is incarcerated? Let's wait and watch. Well, that's all for now. Please remember to hit the bell button for future updates and to share your ideas with us in the comments section below.